3 months passed faster than anyone expected. Captain Ryan Fletcher stood on the bridge of the ESS Nightfall, watching the Council survey ship drift through Earth's solar system. The alien vessel was large, shaped like a crescent moon, and completely unaware that it was being followed. "They're scanning Mars," Lieutenant Amy Rogers reported from her tactical station. "Basic surface analysis. They don't seem impressed." Ryan allowed himself a small smile. Mars was home to 3 million humans living in underground cities, but from space, it looked like an empty red desert. The Council ship's scanners were old technology. They couldn't detect the shielded habitats beneath the surface. "They're moving toward Earth now," Amy continued. "Estimated arrival at scanning range in 20 minutes. Ryan tapped his communication badge. "Fletcher to Luna Command. The survey ship is approaching Earth." Admiral Kevin Barnes responded immediately. "Acknowledged, Captain. Maintain your position. Do not engage unless they show hostile intent." "Understood, sir." Ryan looked at the main screen, where Earth hung in space like a blue and white jewel. From here, it looked peaceful. The alien ship wouldn't see the defense satellites hidden among the orbital debris. They wouldn't detect the weapons platforms disguised as communications relays. They wouldn't know that 50 warships were waiting in the outer system, ready to respond in minutes. The Council survey ship, designated the UCS Dominion, moved into orbit around Earth. Ryan watched as it began its scans. He could intercept their transmissions easily. The Nightfall's electronic warfare suite was decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. "Captain, they're transmitting," Amy said. "Broadcasting on all Council frequencies." "Let's hear it." The translation came through clearly. A voice, mechanical and cold, speaking in the formal language of the Galactic Council. "This is Survey Ship Dominion. We have arrived at the third planet of the Sector 47 system, beginning standard analysis." There was a pause. Then the voice continued. "Initial scans confirm presence of tool-using inhabitants. Population approximately 9 billion. Technology level, primitive. Space capability, minimal. Threat assessment, none." Ryan felt his hands curl into fists. Primitive, minimal, none. The casual dismissal in those words was infuriating. The transmission continued. "The inhabitants have achieved basic orbital flight but show no signs of faster-than-light capability. Radio emissions suggest fragmented political structures. Recommend classification as developing species, suitable for protectorate status." "Protectorate status?" Amy said, her voice sharp with anger. "They want to claim us?" The alien voice spoke again, and this time there was something that sounded like amusement. "Biological analysis indicates the inhabitants possess moderate intelligence. Physical capabilities are unremarkable. They appear to have recently discovered nuclear technology, which they have used against themselves in warfare. Cultural assessment suggests they are not ready for galactic society." Ryan forced himself to breathe slowly. This was the test. This was the moment Earth's leaders had prepared for. The moment when humanity would have to decide whether to continue the silence or to speak. The Dominion's captain began broadcasting new information, and Ryan's blood went cold as he listened. "By authority of the Galactic Council, this star system is hereby designated as a protectorate. The inhabitants are granted provisional sentient status, pending evaluation. Council directives are as follows. All weapons of mass destruction must be surrendered. 40% of the population will be relocated to preserve planetary resources. Genetic modification programs will be established to accelerate development toward Council standards." Amy stood up from her station. "Sir, they're claiming ownership of Earth. They're talking about relocating billions of people. They want to change us." Ryan held up his hand for silence. He was recording everything, sending it back to Luna Command on secure channels. This was beyond his authority. This was a decision for Earth's governing assembly. More transmissions came from the Dominion. The crew was talking among themselves, and they had no idea anyone was listening. The translation software picked up their casual conversation. "Look at them," one voice said. "They've barely left their own planet, and they think they're advanced. It's like watching insects build a nest. The scans show they have art and music, another voice replied. If you can call it that. More like nest-building behavior. Instinct, rather than culture. Did you see their architecture? Crude blocks of stone and metal, no grace, no sophistication. The Council will probably quarantine this system. Let them develop for a few thousand years. Maybe they'll be worth something eventually. Laughter filled the transmission. Alien laughter, mocking and cruel. Ryan looked at his crew. They were all listening. They all heard the contempt in those alien voices. He could see the anger on their faces, but also the discipline. They were military personnel. They knew how to follow orders. His console lit up with an incoming message from Luna Command. Ryan read it quickly, then read it again to make sure he understood. The message was simple. Silence ends now. Ryan felt a surge of anticipation. 23 years of watching. 23 years of listening to aliens dismiss humanity as primitive vermin. 23 years of biting back responses. It was over. Amy, he said calmly. Prepare to transmit on all Council frequencies. Maximum power. I want every Council ship in this sector to hear what we're about to say. Yes, sir. Amy's fingers flew across her console. What's the message, Captain? She asked. Ryan pulled up the transmission that had just arrived from Earth. It had been written by Ambassador Claire Dixon herself, approved by the full governing assembly. It was calm, professional, and absolutely devastating. Send this, Ryan said, forwarding the message to Amy's station. The transmission was ready. Ryan took a deep breath, thinking about all the hidden stations throughout Council space, thinking about the stealth ships that had been watching the Council for decades, thinking about the weapons and the technology and the patience that humanity had maintained. Transmit, he ordered. The message went out on all Council frequencies, broadcast with enough power to reach every Council ship within 10 light years. To the Galactic Council and all member species, this is Earth. We have heard everything you've said about us for the past 23 years. Every insult, every dismissal, every plan to claim our world and change our people. We have recorded it all. We have been watching you since 2224, when we achieved faster-than-light travel. We have observed your technology, studied your cultures, and mapped your territories. We maintained silence because we chose to learn before speaking. Now we choose to speak. You have insulted us. You have claimed ownership of our world. You have threatened our people. These actions are unacceptable. We demand a formal apology from the Galactic Council. We demand equal status in the galactic community. We demand respect. You have 24 hours to respond. If you refuse, we will demonstrate exactly why your assumptions about humanity were wrong. We are not primitive. We are not vermin. We are not yours to control. We are Earth, and we are done being silent. The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge of the nightfall. Ryan watched the Dominion on his screen. The alien ship had stopped its scans. It was just hanging there in orbit, probably trying to process what had just happened. Then, from the Dominion, a new transmission. The captain's voice, no longer amused, now shocked and angry. This is impossible. They cannot have faster-than-light capability. Our scans show primitive technology. Ryan smiled. Amy, decloak the nightfall. Let's show them what they missed. The stealth systems deactivated. Suddenly, the ESS Nightfall appeared on every scanner in the solar system, hanging just 5,000 kilometers from the Dominion. The alien captain's voice came through again, this time filled with panic. Where did you come from? How long have you been there? Ryan opened a channel. We've been following you since you entered our solar system 3 months ago. You never saw us because you were too busy laughing at how primitive we are. More silence from the Dominion. Then from deep space came a different transmission. A cold, arrogant voice that Ryan recognized from hundreds of intercepted messages. The Vrelnari Grand Arbiter, leader of the Galactic Council. You dare threaten the Council? You will learn your place, upstart primates. The Council fleet is already moving toward your system. You will be taught proper respect. Ryan's smile faded. Admiral, did you hear that? We heard, Barnes replied. Don't worry, Captain. We've been preparing for this too. Let them come. Ambassador Claire Dixon stood in the operations center beneath Luna's surface, watching as Earth's secret revealed itself to the galaxy. Around her, dozens of technicians worked at their stations, coordinating what would be the greatest reveal in human history. All stations report ready, one technician called out. Claire nodded. Begin the sequence. Across 40 star systems, hidden human observation posts began to decloak. Stations that had been invisible for decades suddenly appeared on every council scanner. The posts weren't large, maybe 50 people each, but there were hundreds of them. They had been watching, recording, learning. We're receiving transmissions from council space, another technician reported. They're panicking. They had no idea we were there. Claire allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction. For 23 years, the Galactic Council had mocked humanity. They had called humans primitive, stupid, barely sentient. They had laughed at Earth's old rocket technology and dismissed human culture as nest-building behavior. Now they knew the truth. Humanity had been in their space, watching their every move for more than 2 decades. Send the data packet, Claire ordered. This was the key moment. The data packet contained everything Earth had learned about the Galactic Council. Political structures of all 12 member species, technical specifications of their ships and weapons, trade routes and economic data, cultural information about their arts, philosophies, and religions, security codes and military protocols, everything. The packet was massive, compressed into a format that would take the Council's computers hours to fully process. But the summary was clear enough. Humanity knew everything about them while they knew almost nothing about humanity. On the main screen, Claire watched as the Council's emergency assembly convened on their capital world Centrum. The chamber was in chaos. Delegates were shouting at each other, demanding answers, asking how this could have happened. The Vrlnari Grand Arbiter, Zelthon, was trying to restore order. His purple skin had darkened with anger and his forearms gestured wildly. Silence, he commanded. This is clearly a deception. The humans cannot possibly have this level of technology. Their own radio transmissions showed primitive chemical rockets. An elderly delegate from the Krell species stood up. With respect, Grand Arbiter, the evidence is here. They have been in our space for decades. Our security networks never detected them. That suggests their technology is more advanced than ours, not less. Zelthon's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Is it? Claire said. She was transmitting now, her image appearing on the main screen in the council chamber. Every delegate turned to look at her. My name is Claire Dixon, she said calmly. I am the ambassador from Earth. I speak on behalf of 9 billion humans who are tired of being insulted. The chamber fell silent. Claire continued. For 23 years we have listened to your discussions about us. You called us vermin. You called us primitive. You called our art and music nest-building behavior. You decided we weren't worth noticing. You were wrong. She gestured and images appeared on the screens throughout the council chamber. Images of Earth's technology, of human cities that stretched beneath Mars, of shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt building vessels more advanced than anything the council possessed. You saw our old rockets and assumed we had nothing better. You heard silence and assumed we had nothing to say. You looked at Earth and saw primitives. You should have looked closer. A new image appeared showing the quantum slip drive that powered Earth's faster-than-light ships. Engineer Paul Wright had spent 15 years developing it, building on theories the Council had never explored. This is our slip drive, Claire explained. It creates a temporary quantum tunnel through space. It's 3 times faster than your fold space technology and uses 1/10 the energy. We've had it for 23 years. While you were laughing at our chemical rockets, we were exploring the galaxy. More images appeared. Stealth technology that made human ships invisible to Council sensors. Weapon systems that could disable vessels without destroying them. Communication networks that operated on principles the Council hadn't discovered yet. We could have announced ourselves at any time, Claire said. We chose not to. We chose to learn about you first. We studied your languages, your cultures, your histories. We wanted to understand you before making contact. She paused, letting that sink in. We learned a lot. We learned that the Council is complacent. You've been dominant for so long that you stopped expecting challenges. Your security is weak because you never thought anyone could hide from you. Your technology has stagnated because you stopped innovating. and your arrogance made you blind to the truth. Grand Arbiter Xelthon stood up, his voice filled with rage. You dare lecture the Council? You dare presume to teach us? We have civilizations older than your entire species. Claire met his gaze calmly. Age doesn't equal wisdom, Grand Arbiter. And experience doesn't help if you refuse to learn from it. She brought up new data on the screens. Recordings of Council transmissions, showing delegates mocking humanity, planning to claim Earth as a protectorate, discussing genetic modification programs to improve humans. You planned to take our world, Claire said quietly. You planned to relocate billions of our people. You planned to change us at a genetic level because you decided we weren't good enough as we are. You did all of this without ever speaking to us, without ever asking what we wanted. You treated us like animals to be managed, not people to be respected. The chamber was silent now. Several delegates looked uncomfortable. The Krell delegate was nodding slowly. We demand an apology, Claire continued. A formal acknowledgement from this council that you were wrong about humanity. We demand equal status in the galactic community, not as a protectorate, not as a developing species, as equals. Xelthon's laugh was bitter. And if we refuse, then we will demonstrate our capabilities in ways you won't enjoy, Claire replied. But we don't want war. We want respect. We want to be treated as partners, not pets. The Grand Arbiter's forearms crossed over his chest. The Council does not negotiate with lesser species. We do not apologize. We are the authority in this galaxy, and we will not be dictated to by upstart primates who got lucky with some stolen technology. Claire had expected this. She had hoped for a peaceful resolution, but she had prepared for this response. Our technology isn't stolen, she said quietly. We developed it ourselves while you were too busy laughing to notice, and you're about to learn the cost of that mistake. She gestured to Admiral Barnes, who was standing beside her. The Admiral stepped forward. Grand Arbiter, Barnes said, your fleet is currently approaching our solar system. 200 ships moving at maximum fold space speed. You plan to blockade Earth and force us to surrender. Xelthon's expression showed surprise that humans knew about the fleet. Barnes continued. We detected your fleet the moment it left Centrum Space 3 days ago. We know its composition, its capabilities, and its orders. We've been tracking it every moment of its journey, and we've been preparing a welcome. On the screen, new images appeared. Human ships moving into position around Earth's solar system, not the hidden defense platforms or the disguised weapons satellites. These were visible warships, sleek and deadly, positioned perfectly to intercept the incoming Council fleet. You have a choice, Barnes said. Turn your fleet around and talk to us like equals. Or continue your approach and learn firsthand why we stayed quiet for 23 years. The chamber erupted into argument again. Some delegates were calling for restraint. Others demanded action. Xelthon was shouting orders, his forearms gesturing frantically. Claire watched it all calmly. She had done her part. She had offered peace, demanded respect, and shown Earth's capabilities. Now it was up to the Council to decide how this would end. A new voice spoke, cutting through the chaos. It was the Krell delegate, old and thoughtful. Grand Arbiter, perhaps we should consider their offer. Never, Xelthon shouted. The Council does not bow to primitives. They're not primitives, the Krell replied quietly. They never were. We just assumed they were because it made us feel superior. Our pride has blinded us. I will not. The fleet will continue, Xelthon announced. Earth will learn its place. Claire sighed. She had hoped it wouldn't come to this. She looked at Admiral Barnes and nodded. Show them, she said softly. Barnes smiled grimly. With pleasure, Ambassador. Fleet Admiral Susan Kane stood on the bridge of the ESS Valiant, watching the Council fleet emerge from fold space at the edge of Earth's solar system. 200 ships, just as intelligence had predicted. They were arranged in a standard Council battle formation, meant to look impressive and intimidating. All ships report ready, her tactical officer reported. Susan nodded. Send the welcome message. The Earth Defense Fleet was already in position. 50 visible warships positioned in a defensive sphere around Earth and Mars. But that was just what the Council could see. The real strength of Earth's defense was hidden in stealth. In technology the Council didn't understand. And in 23 years of careful preparation. The Council fleet commander opened a channel. His face appeared on the main screen. A Vrilnari like Grand Arbiter Xelthon, his expression filled with confidence. Attention, Earth Fleet. This is Commander Zelvor of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with force. Susan smiled. Commander Zelvor, this is Fleet Admiral Susan Kane. I'm afraid we won't be powering down anything. In fact, I'd like to make you an offer. Turn your fleet around now and no one gets hurt. Zelvor's laugh was harsh. You have 50 ships. We have 200. Your bravado is amusing but pointless. You counted wrong, Susan replied. We have 50 visible ships. Count again. She gave a signal, and across the solar system 100 additional human vessels decloaked. They had been there the entire time, invisible to Council sensors, positioned perfectly to surround the Council fleet. The confidence on Zelvor's face flickered. It doesn't matter. We still outnumber you. Do you? Susan asked. Let me show you something interesting. She nodded to her communications officer, who transmitted a data packet to the Council flagship. It contained detailed scans of the Council fleet, including things the Council commander probably didn't want his superiors to know. Weaknesses in shield configurations, unauthorized modifications to weapon systems, even personal communications between crew members. We've been scanning your fleet since the moment you left Centrum Space, Susan explained. We know everything about your ships. Every strength, every weakness, every flaw. We know that your flagship has a problematic power coupling on Deck 7. We know that your third cruiser's fold space drive is overdue for maintenance. We know that your crews are tired from the 3-day journey. Zelvor's face had gone pale. How is that possible? Because we're better at this than you are, Susan said simply. Now let me demonstrate, she gave another signal. Across the solar system, human ships began moving, not attacking, just repositioning. But the precision was perfect. Every human vessel moved at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right pattern, creating a 3-dimensional formation that surrounded the Council fleet completely. At the same time, Captain Blake Morris launched his surprise from the ESS Valiant, 300 autonomous combat drones, each one smaller than a fighter but faster and more maneuverable than anything the Council possessed. They swarmed through space, weaving between Council ships in patterns too complex for human pilots, but easy for artificial intelligence. Those are drones? Zelvor asked, his voice strained. Yes, Susan confirmed. We don't risk human lives when machines can do the job. Each drone is armed, shielded, and programmed to disable specific targets. Would you like a demonstration? She didn't wait for an answer. One drone broke formation and streaked toward the Council flagship. Point defense systems fired, trying to hit it, but the drone was too fast, too agile. It reached the flagship's hull, attached itself near the main weapons array, and fired a single focused electromagnetic pulse. The flagship's weapons went dark, not destroyed, just disabled. The drone detached and flew away, rejoining its formation. Your primary weapons are offline, Susan said calmly. We can do that to every ship in your fleet. We can disable you completely without firing a single shot that would harm your crew, but we'd prefer not to. Zelvor was silent, staring at his tactical displays. Susan could imagine what he was seeing. His entire fleet surrounded, outmaneuvered, with his weapons disabled and more drones ready to repeat the process. This is impossible, he whispered. It's not impossible. It's just technology you haven't developed yet. Now are you ready to talk? Before Zelvor could respond, another voice broke in. Grand Arbiter Zelthon, transmitting from Centrum.
Commander Zelvor, destroy those human ships immediately.
This is a direct order, Susan sighed. She had hoped Zelthon would see reason, but the Grand Arbiter's pride was too strong. Admiral, her tactical officer said quietly, we're detecting 3 Council supply depots in this sector. They're unmanned automated facilities. Susan nodded. Send in Sergeant Banks and his team. Sergeant Tyler Banks was already in position aboard a stealth transport. He and his Marine squad had been waiting for this moment. The transport approached the first supply depot, invisible to its sensors, and docked without being detected. Banks led his team through the depot's corridors. The facility was empty except for maintenance robots. Within 10 minutes, the Marines had complete control. They did the same thing at the other 2 depots, moving so quickly and quietly that the Council didn't even realize what was happening until it was over. Sir, Banks reported, all 3 depots secured. No resistance. We have access to their supply networks. Susan smiled. Broadcast it. Images appeared on every Council ship's display. Human Marines standing in Council supply depots surrounded by food, fuel, and ammunition. The footage showed timestamps proving it was happening right now, in real time. For the past year, Susan explained, we've had complete access to your military logistics network. We know where every supply depot is located. We know your fuel reserves, your ammunition stocks, your food supplies. We've mapped your entire supply chain. She paused, letting that information sink in. We could have sabotaged you at any time. We could have left your fleet stranded without fuel, but we didn't. We're not here to destroy you. We're here to show you that we can. On the screen, Zelvor looked sick. His entire fleet depended on those supply lines. If humans had access to them, they could cripple the Council's military without firing a shot. There's more, Susan continued. She nodded to Engineer Paul Wright, who was waiting with his team. This is the slip bomb, Paul explained, showing a technical diagram. It's a device that interferes with fold space engines. If we activate one near your ships, your faster-than-light drives will fail. You'll be stranded in normal space, unable to move faster than light until we decide to deactivate the device. He smiled. We have slip bombs positioned throughout this sector. We could strand your entire fleet here light years from home with no way to call for help. You're bluffing, Zelthon said, though his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Paul replied. He transmitted activation codes to one of the slip bombs. Nothing visible happened, but every Council ship's fold space drive suddenly went offline. The engines weren't damaged, just temporarily disabled. Panic spread through the Council fleet. Ships that had been preparing to fold away were now trapped in normal space. The effect is temporary, Paul said calmly. Your drives will come back online in about 10 minutes, but we can make it permanent if we need to. Susan watched as the reality of the situation became clear to everyone involved. The Council fleet was disabled, surrounded, outmatched, and completely at humanity's mercy. Earth could destroy them. Earth could capture them. Earth could leave them stranded in space. But Earth was doing none of those things. Earth was just demonstrating that they could. Commander Zelvor, Susan said gently, your orders were to make Earth surrender. But you can't do that. Your weapons are disabled. Your drives are offline. Your supply lines are compromised. You're completely helpless. The question is, what happens next? Zelvor looked at his displays, at his disabled fleet, at the human ships surrounding him. Then he looked at the image of Grand Arbiter Zelthon on his communication screen. Grand Arbiter, Zelvor said slowly, I cannot carry out your orders. The humans have complete tactical superiority. If I continue this engagement, I will lose every ship and every crew member. I will not waste lives on a battle we cannot win. You dare refuse a direct order? Zelthon shouted. I dare refuse a suicide order, Zelvor replied. And sir, with respect, if these humans wanted us dead, we would already be dead. They're showing restraint. Perhaps we should do the same. Throughout the Council fleet, other captains were nodding. They could all see the truth. Earth wasn't trying to destroy them. Earth was trying to teach them. Susan opened a channel to all Council ships. Gentlemen, ladies, and others, we're going to reactivate your fold space drives now. You're free to leave. Return to Centrum. Tell your leaders what you saw here today. Tell them that Earth is not primitive. Tell them we're not vermin. Tell them we're ready to talk, but only as equals. The slip bomb deactivated. Fold space drives came back online across the Council fleet. Ships began preparing to withdraw. Zelthon was shouting now, ordering the fleet to stay and fight, but no one was listening to him. The captains had seen enough. One by one, Council ships folded away, returning to their own space. Commander Jake Morrison floated in the observation deck of the hidden station, his eyes fixed on the massive viewing screen. The station hung in the darkness of space, invisible to anyone who might pass by. It had been his home for 3 years now, and in all that time not a single alien ship had detected their presence. That was exactly how Earth wanted it. The screen showed a feed from deep space, where the Galactic Council was holding one of their regular meetings. Jake watched as the alien delegates argued and debated, their voices translated by the station's advanced computers. Next to him, Dr. Lisa Grant was recording everything, her fingers moving quickly across her tablet. They're talking about us again, Lisa said quietly. Her voice carried a mix of curiosity and concern. Jake nodded. This was the 5th time this month that Earth had come up in Council discussions. It was never good. The aliens seemed to find humanity endlessly amusing and not in a kind way. On the screen, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms was speaking. The Vrilnari delegate, according to the translation software, His name was difficult for humans to pronounce, so the crew simply called him the Purple One. The species in Sector 47 continues to be irrelevant, the Vrelnari said, his voice filled with dismissal. Our scouts detected primitive chemical rockets leaving their planet decades ago. They still use combustion technology. Combustion! Like children playing with fire. Several other delegates made sounds that the computer interpreted as laughter. Jake felt his jaw tighten. They were talking about humanity's early space program. The rockets that had taken humans to the moon and built the first space stations. Those rockets had been retired 20 years ago, but the aliens didn't know that. They thought Earth was still struggling with basic spaceflight. Another alien spoke up, this one looking like a cross between a lizard and a bird. Should we not make contact? Offer guidance? Guidance? The Vrelnari's laugh was harsh. Why waste resources on the mute vermin of Sector 47? They haven't even achieved faster than light travel. They're probably still killing each other over territorial disputes. Lisa's hand stopped moving. Jake could see her face reflected in the screen, and she looked angry. He understood the feeling. For 23 years, Earth had been listening to these conversations. For 23 years, humanity had bitten its tongue and remained silent. There's more, Lisa said, forwarding through the recording. Listen to this part. The scene shifted to a different chamber where a smaller group of council members was meeting privately. The Vrelnari was there again, along with 5 others. The question remains, one alien said. Should we classify the Sector 47 inhabitants as presentient? If they cannot communicate beyond their own planet, do they truly qualify as a spacefaring civilization? I propose we designate their system as a wildlife preserve, the Vrelnari replied. In another 1,000 years, perhaps they'll develop enough to be worth noticing. Until then, let them play with their chemical rockets and radio waves. The other aliens murmured in agreement. Jake turned away from the screen. He had seen enough. He tapped his communication badge. Morrison to command. Priority transmission. There was a brief pause, then Admiral Kevin Barnes's voice came through. Go ahead, Commander. Sir, we have another recording. This one is worse than the others. They're discussing classifying Earth as a wildlife preserve. Understood. Send it through secure channels. I'll review it immediately. Jake gestured to Lisa, who began the upload process. The data would take several hours to reach Earth, bounce through a series of hidden relay stations to avoid detection. It was slow, but it was safe. How much longer do we have to listen to this? Lisa asked when the transmission was complete. Every day they insult us. Every day they laugh at us. And we just sit here. We sit here because we're getting smarter, Jake replied. Every conversation we record, every transmission we intercept, we learn more about them. Their technology, their politics, their weaknesses. I know the strategic value, Lisa said, but it doesn't make it easier to hear. Jake understood. He had joined the Silent Watch program because he believed in its mission. Earth had achieved faster than light travel in 2224, a breakthrough that had changed everything. But instead of announcing themselves to the galaxy, Earth's leaders had made a different choice. They decided to watch and learn first. Hidden stations like this one had been built throughout known space, each one invisible to alien sensors. Humanity had learned the alien languages, studied their cultures, and mapped their territories. And through it all, Earth had remained silent. Back on Earth, the debate continued. Jake had read the reports from the governing assembly. Ambassador Claire Dixon was pushing for immediate contact. She argued that humanity needed to correct the Council's misconceptions before they became dangerous. Senator Marcus Webb wanted the opposite. He believed Earth should strike first, show the aliens that humanity was not to be trifled with. Admiral Barnes, Jake's direct superior, held the middle ground. Keep watching, keep learning, and wait for the right moment. That moment hadn't arrived yet. Jake's console beeped. A new alert. Lisa looked over his shoulder as he pulled up the data. That's a Council survey ship, she said, studying the readings. And it's heading toward our solar system. Jake felt his heart rate increase. In 23 years of observation, no Council ship had ever approached Earth's territory. They had shown no interest in visiting the primitive humans. Until now. How long until it arrives? He asked. Lisa did quick calculations. At their current speed, about 3 months. Jake immediately opened a channel to Earth. This was beyond his authority to handle. This was a decision for the admirals and the ambassadors and the politicians. Sir, he said when Barnes answered, We have a situation. He explained about the survey ship, about its trajectory, about the timeline. Barnes listened in silence. Keep tracking it, the Admiral finally said. Record everything. And Commander? Yes, sir? Get your station ready. If this goes badly, you might need to move quickly. The channel closed. Jake looked at Lisa, who had gone pale. They're coming to Earth, she whispered. After all this time, they're actually coming. Jake turned back to the viewing screen. The alien delegates were still talking, still laughing, still dismissing humanity as irrelevant. They had no idea that every word was being recorded. They had no idea that humans were watching from the shadows. They had no idea that Earth had been preparing for this moment for more than 2 decades. The Vrelnari delegate was speaking again. Perhaps we should visit Sector 47 after all. It might be amusing to see how the primitive creatures react to superior beings. More laughter from the council chamber. Jake smiled grimly. You're about to find out, he said quietly. And I don't think you're going to find it amusing at all. The survey ship continued on its course, heading toward Earth's solar system, heading toward a confrontation that the Galactic Council could not imagine. Because they had made one critical mistake. They had assumed that silence meant weakness. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Today humanity took its place among the stars, she said, not through conquest, not through submission, but through strength, wisdom, and the courage to demand respect. The galaxy tried to silence us. They tried to control us. They tried to change us. We refused. We showed them who we really are. And now finally they're ready to listen. She paused, looking directly into the camera. To everyone on Earth and throughout our solar system, be proud of what we've accomplished. Be proud of the patience we showed. Be proud of the strength we revealed. But most importantly, be proud of the choice we made. When we could have responded with violence, we chose demonstration. When we could have sought revenge, we chose partnership. We showed the galaxy not just that humans are strong, but that we're wise. The message ended with a simple statement, one that would become humanity's motto for generations to come. We choose to speak. Make sure you're ready to listen. Back on Earth, in the operations center beneath Luna's surface, Admiral Barnes watched the ceremony with satisfaction. 23 years of silent observation, 3 months of carefully managed revelation. And now, finally, Earth had achieved what it had always deserved, equal standing among the stars. He turned to his staff. Well done, everyone. But don't get comfortable. This is just the beginning. We've proven we're strong enough to demand respect. Now we need to prove we're wise enough to deserve it. The staff nodded. There was still work to do. Other species to contact, technologies to develop, threats to money. 3 months after the confrontation, Ambassador Claire Dixon stood in the Grand Chamber on Centrum, the capital world of the Galactic Council. The chamber was enormous, built to hold thousands of delegates from 12 different species. Today it was packed. Everyone wanted to see the human representative speak. Claire took a deep breath and walked to the speaker's platform. She wore a simple blue suit, carrying no weapons, no guards, no signs of the military power Earth had demonstrated. She wanted to show that humanity came in peace, but she would never forget the strength that backed her words. The new Grand Arbiter, Irental of the Krell species, gestured for silence. The old Arbiter, Zelthon, was gone. After the fleet's failure, the Council had voted to remove him from power. He was now facing trial for abuse of authority and species discrimination. The Council recognizes Ambassador Claire Dixon of Earth. Irental said, his old voice carrying through the chamber. Claire smiled. Thank you, Grand Arbiter. I'm honored to be here today as Earth's official representative. She looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces. Some looked curious. Some looked respectful. A few still looked resentful. That was fine. Respect took time. 3 months ago, Claire began, Earth revealed itself to this council. We showed you our technology, our capabilities, and our determination to be treated as equals. That confrontation could have ended in violence. Instead, it ended in understanding. Today, I'm here to help build on that understanding. She activated a holographic display showing a document. This is the Mutual Respect Accord. It's a proposal for new rules governing first contact with developing species. The core principle is simple. Every species, regardless of technology level, deserves dignity and respect. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some delegates nodded, others looked skeptical. The Accord proposes several key changes, Claire continued. First, no species can be claimed as a protectorate without their explicit consent. Second, no species can be subjected to genetic modification programs without their request. Third, all first contact situations must include actual communication and dialogue, not just observation and judgment. She paused. These rules aren't just for Earth's benefit. They're for every species in the galaxy, because today it's humanity being insulted and dismissed. Tomorrow it might be someone else. A delegate from the Vrelnari species stood up. Claire recognized him as one of Zelthon's former supporters. How can we treat primitive species as equals? They lack our experience, our knowledge, our wisdom. Claire met his gaze calmly. The council thought Earth was primitive. You were wrong. Maybe you're wrong about other species too. Maybe instead of assuming superiority, you should try listening first. The Vrelnari delegate sat down, looking uncomfortable. Grand Arbiter Urental spoke up. Ambassador Dixon is correct. The council's treatment of Earth was arrogant and cruel. We made assumptions based on incomplete information. We insulted an entire species without ever speaking to them. This must never happen again. He stood slowly, his aged body moving with effort. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally apologize to humanity for our words and actions. We were wrong. We treated you as inferiors when you were equals. We planned to control you when we should have welcomed you. We failed in our duty to represent the best of galactic civilization. The chamber fell silent. Claire felt emotion tighten her throat. This was what Earth had demanded. Not revenge, not domination. Just acknowledgement. Just respect. Thank you, Grand Arbiter, she said softly. Earth accepts your apology. Over the next hour, several other delegates stood to speak. Some offered additional apologies. Others shared their own stories of being dismissed by more powerful species. The conversation was painful but necessary. When the speeches ended, Claire presented another proposal. Earth is willing to share our slip drive technology with Council species. That caused an uproar. The slip drive was Earth's greatest advantage. It was the technology that made human ships faster and more efficient than anything else in the galaxy. Claire waited for the noise to die down. We'll share it, but with conditions. First, the Mutual Respect Accord must be approved and enforced. Second, the technology can only be used for peaceful purposes. Third, any species receiving the technology must agree to help defend younger civilizations from exploitation. Admiral Kevin Barnes, standing beside Claire, added, We're not giving this technology away freely. We're offering it as part of building a better galactic community, one where strength is used to protect, not to dominate. The Council debated for hours. Some delegates argued that accepting Earth's terms would make them look weak. Others countered that refusing would make them look foolish. Finally, Urental called for a vote. The Mutual Respect Accord passed with overwhelming support. Only the Vrelnari delegation voted against it, and even they looked resigned to the outcome. With the accord approved, 3 younger species immediately approached Claire. They had been part of the Council for less than 1,000 years, and had often felt dismissed by older members. They requested Earth's help in developing their own technology, asking for guidance and partnership rather than demanding gifts. Claire smiled. We'd be happy to work with you. Send your best engineers and scientists to Earth. We'll establish exchange programs. Dr. Lisa Grant, who had accompanied Claire to Centrum, spoke up. I'd also like to propose cultural exchange programs. Not just technology, but art, music, philosophy, history. We have so much to learn from each other. Several delegates agreed enthusiastically. Within minutes, Lisa was surrounded by xenologists and cultural specialists, all eager to establish connections with humanity. As the formal session ended, delegates began approaching Claire individually. Some wanted to discuss trade agreements. Others wanted to establish embassies on Earth. A few simply wanted to apologize personally for their species' role in the insults. Commander Jake Morrison, who had been watching from the observation gallery, came down to join Claire. His hidden station had been converted into an official embassy now, openly acknowledged instead of secret. How does it feel? He asked quietly. Claire considered the question. Strange. 3 months ago, they were calling us vermin. Now they're asking to be our partners. That's what happens when you prove yourself, Jake replied. Respect isn't given. It's earned, and we earned it. Over the following weeks, Earth's integration into galactic society accelerated. Human ships began traveling openly through Council space. Human diplomats established embassies on a dozen worlds. Human scientists collaborated with alien researchers on projects neither could complete alone. But humanity remained cautious. The memory of those insults, those plans to control and change Earth's people, was still fresh. Earth maintained its military strength, its stealth technology, its intelligence networks. The galaxy had learned that humans were not to be underestimated, but humans had learned that trust needed to be earned on both sides. 6 months after the confrontation, the Galactic Council held a special ceremony. Earth was formally admitted as the 13th member of the Council, with full voting rights and equal status to all other species. Claire stood before the assembly as the vote was counted. It was unanimous. Even the Vrelnari delegation voted in favor, though their representative looked like he was swallowing something bitter. "Welcome, Ambassador Dixon," Irental said warmly. "Welcome to the Galactic Council. May Earth's wisdom and strength help guide us all toward a better future." Claire accepted the ceremonial crystal that marked Earth's membership. It was beautiful, carved from a rare mineral that glowed with inner light. But more beautiful than the crystal was what it represented: recognition, respect, equality. That evening, Claire sent a message back to Earth. It was broadcast across every human settlement, from the underground cities on Mars to the orbital stations around Jupiter, to Earth itself.